And now it's time for our second keynote speaker, Danielle.
Yes. Oh, well, I didn't think it could get better, but I think it's going to keep getting better. Our next speaker for today is Eleni Vardaki. Eleni Vardaki is a professional youth mentor, emotional freedom technique practitioner, and the creator of Tapping Into Academic Success. She completed her IB diploma at the Anglo-American School of Moscow in 2004. And in 2010, she completed her master's in education at the University of Cambridge while working full-time. She went on to help hundreds of IGCSE history, IB history, and TOK students succeed in achieving top grades in the leading IB school in Athens, Greece. Eleni now works full-time, offering services and products that help students, parents, and teachers experience greater well-being. We are so excited to welcome you. Eleni, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Oops.
Hello, Eleni. It's so good to have you here. Eleni, we're not hearing you. Could you actually please open your mic? I think we're having a slight issue with your sound. So if you could try again, please.
Okay.
We're not having you. So if we could please retry.
Can you hear me now?
Now we do. Perfect.
Okay, cool. Talk about Sod's Law. I'll tell you what, we actually tested the mic and it was working right before coming on, and then it comes on and it doesn't work.
As we were mentioning, it's again a manifestation of Murphy's Law. So I hope this will be the last one.
Yeah.
So here we go. So what I was saying was, thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I want to dive right in because I have 3 brilliant questions that you guys sent in to me. And I want to make sure we finish on time so that we can get to those because they're really, really good. And so to get started here, what is my intention? What is my hope in this presentation for you? So I'm sharing these personal stories of successes and failures from the IB diploma and life after the IB, and how it links to finding my purpose, so that with the intention of opening up about these personal trials and triumphs and tribulations, these personal stories, so that you can question some of your assumptions about what is success, what is failure, and open your horizons, break your horizons of what's actually possible. So you've heard that I graduated from Cambridge University. I did my master's in education at Cambridge University. I did my teacher training degree in Cambridge University. And before that, I was an undergraduate student at the University of Liverpool. I studied English and modern history, and I got a first-class degree, which was the best grade you can get basically in England. And then in Russia, is where I did my IB diploma, as you've heard, and I got 37 IB diploma points. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because as you might know, or you might not, I don't know, but the average, on average, most IB diploma students achieve around 30 IB points. So, if you're getting 28, 29, 30, that's good. That's a good result. And so when people hear 37, they're like, which is above the average grades that worldwide that kids get. They're like, and then they hear Liverpool and they hear Cambridge and they're like, oh, you're just smart. You're just born smart. And can I just say, well, I'll show you evidence. I am as normal can get. I was born as normal can get. And I will show you proof. And it wasn't just through hard work, and it wasn't just, well, certainly zero private tutoring. There was no private tutoring involved here in any of these grades, not in the IB, not in before, none at all. So, but it wasn't just hard work, and I'm going to share you some tips of what it actually was. But before we get into that, talking about just an average normal student, nothing extraordinary. Here you see me in the Anglo-American School of Moscow here. We're with my sister, Dema on the left, and some friends here. We're being silly, just having fun, blowing kisses to the camera during a community service project. At the bottom here, I loved sports. And so, number 8, I'm number 8 in grade 11, playing volleyball with our lovely, lovely coach here, and grade 12, number 4, where, it's just a normal IB life. Like, there's nothing extraordinary. I'm here on the ground with the graduating class of the Anglo-American School of Moscow in 2004. So you can calculate my age, but you don't have to. So this is the highlight reel, right? This is Kodak, pre-iPhones, iPads, pre-Instagram. So we didn't have all that stuff. I didn't even have a mobile phone. Like, you just didn't back then. And so this is a highlight reel, but as we all know, the behind the scenes is very different, because especially in grade 12, there's a lot of stress involved. So the question then, is how do I go from being an ordinary as ordinary can be student academically to something that is statistically quite rare? Graduating from Cambridge, I was a minority. Well, I am a minority, and having graduated from Cambridge as a Greek woman. So about 30% of Greeks who graduate from Cambridge are women. The first fun fact, the first who graduate from Cambridge who was from Greece was in 1930. So since 1930, 30% of people who graduated from Cambridge were women. So it's very, very rare. It's very rare to, 40%, I just realized I made a mistake. 40% were women, 60% were men. So I'm a minority in terms of the statistics and holding a degree here on the right from Cambridge University as a Greek national who is, is a woman. And also I was the only non-native. Everyone else in my master's degree who was teaching full-time as well while working on their master's in education and their dissertation, 20,000 word dissertation at the same time, was British. And so in multiple levels, I was a minority. The odds were stacked against me. So how does someone who's normal, an average kid, go through this and go through this process, and what was the IB diploma like in helping me in this journey? So here you see me at the back with my sister Dema. We were little in Khartoum in grade 1, and I would struggle to read. And I'm still a slow reader. There's a lot of judgment. People have a lot of judgment about being slow or reading slowly, but I'm still a slow reader. I read a lot. I love reading, but I struggle to read. I struggle to write. And if you don't believe me, here is the evidence I was going to show you that I promised. So this is from grade 1 storybook. News. I was only capable of writing a sentence, in terms of what constitutes a story back then, right? Just an average kid. Melissa was my friend, and I were playing and painting with Dema. So Dema, my sister who you saw, I've misspelled her name. I was incapable even of spelling my own sister's name. It's with 2 M's when it should have been with 1. The teacher gave me a good anyway, so all's good. But you can see I'm struggling. I had to rub out the word word to correctly spell it. Painting, I had to rub it out and, correctly spell it. So I was failing there on basic spelling errors and so on. Just an ordinary kid. And then on the right here, you see another example on another day of my achievement for that day. A girl at the club pushed Melissa L. Melissa, my friend, full stop. Down Melissa L, full stop, was crying. And so, again, and I'm struggling to put a sentence together here in writing. And it's a normal reaction. I'm seeing my friend in distress. I'm upset. I'm distressed. I'm seeing her upset. That we do that as, you can imagine examples in your life when you've been sad, when you see someone else sad, and it's hard to, communicate and express yourself. So just an ordinary kid. So how does someone who is not born smart and talented and genius and whatever, and Einstein, go on to, do the work I do now as an educational consultant, where I'm writing articles like from my blog, like reducing student anxiety and, how anxiety differs with stress and so on. The article on the left that you see there is nearly the length of an extended essay. It's about 3,000 words. I wasn't counting. I just by the time I wrote it, it was around 3,700 words. Then I'm also at the same, and on average, I write a minimum of 2,000 words just for the online blogs and articles that I write to create content for free for people, to learn more about what it is that I do, so they can see if it's a good fit. Like, how are parents going to know if I can help their child with exam anxiety and so on, if they don't read about what I do and how I do it, and learn more about the difference between things like stress and anxiety and how to identify signs that their child might be suffering and need help and so on. And so at the same time as I'm writing these, which the extended essay helped hugely with, and juggling, and doing internal assessments and doing coursework and doing IAs, not just for managing my time, but for developing my writing skills, my confidence and my enjoyment of writing. Because when you overcome the challenge and the struggle, you can get into a state of flow when you reach a level of mastery, in whatever skill it is you want to work on. With me, I loved writing. And so I wanted to improve my writing skills. When you reach that level of expertise from practice, which the IB gives plenty of examples opportunities to do with all of the courseworks and extended essays and TOK and so on, I'm able to, write a draft and send it off to the IB community blog. I've been featured on Focus on Health and Wellbeing. I've currently co-authored an article on tips for third culture kids that's in the pipeline for the International Educator that was sent off this week, And so, and I'm in the process of starting writing an article for families in global transition on how to help kids tap into academic success. All of this while writing a book as well. And so, the book, I'm still at the beginning. I've written 4,000 words so far, and I've set myself a goal that by the end of October, I'm going to have another 4,000 words. And, so it's thanks to this incredible opportunity as an IB diploma student that I had to, to be able to practice my writing, that I now have the confidence to think, well, how can I reach more students so that I can help them with tips and, tricks for how to manage exam anxiety and so on. And so writing a book is one way to do it. And so these skills are helping me in supporting my mission and my purpose, which is to help bridge the gap between mainstream education system, which is very exams and academic focused, and the well-being skills that we need to thrive, not just in the IB, but also in life afterwards. So that being said, I'm not one to sugarcoat. So we're not going to sugarcoat here, because I've seen the suffering of hundreds of IB students with the stress, and I don't think it's something that we need to minimize and ignore. And I've experienced it as well. And so I'm going to share with you a story here of how when I was in grade 12, and remember I got into Liverpool University, which was the first choice university. It was the one I'd set my heart on because I really wanted to study modern history in English. And they were the only university at the time that were offering a joint honors degree in modern history and English. And I loved the curriculum, and I really, really wanted to get in. But I had to get a 6 in higher level history. And I don't know about you, but when it comes to you have to remember everything and memorize, and I was freaking out. So on the left here, you see Miss McDowell, lovely Miss McDowell, who was a school counselor at the time. And I went to her, and she shared this really great tip, which you can also practice if you want, to see if it can help you. It helped me a lot because I was so anxious that I was going to forget all of the facts and information I needed to write the 6 essays, the 2 in standard, the 3 in higher, right? And all the topics you have to study. You have to have evidence to be able to back your argument up. You have to remember what the facts are and the evidence is. And so I was scared I was going to forget, and how am I going to, it just seemed so overwhelming. So she taught me this cool technique where she said, imagine you're coming to a crossroads. And on the left, you have a dark, cold, it just feels deflating option. And and this is the option of that spiraling down into panic and overwhelm and anxiety. And on the right, you have, it's beautiful and it's warm and you can hear the birds and you can feel the sun on your skin, right? And I really bigged it up in my imagination, and you really imagine the bright colors and butterflies and everything that makes you happy. So for me, it was butterflies and flowers. So, and warm weather. And so she said, lean into the left and lean into the right and see which one feels better, which option feels better. You have a choice. And notice what your body, it's your body, you have to tap into your body here. Notice what your body says. And I'd lean in, I'd be like, oh, no, that doesn't feel good. And I'd lean into the other one, my imagination. Oh, yes, this is the one. So then, so then you consciously choose to go down the path of calm, confidence. I've got this, I can do it, right? And so when you finish this visualization, then you imagine yourself going into the exam and you imagine that you're going to be nervous. It's normal. It's okay. You're human. It's not a problem to be nervous, but you see yourself doing your breathing, doing your techniques, doing all this stuff that you've practiced in your mind that you're going to do to help yourself manage the stress and overwhelm. And then you see yourself going into the exam, maybe getting stuck, but keeping at it until you get to the end. Then you see yourself like exhaling and being relieved and proud of yourself that you made it through and you did your best. And I did this. And I was literally able, every time I did this, I'd factor it into my study habits. So before I'd start studying, or I set an intention to study for my exam, I'd do this and I was able to focus. And so I was able to study well. So this is what I said, remember at the start, it's not just about how hard you study. It's not just about effort. It's also about what your study routine and habits are so that you can study better. Now, the IB was not the first time that I had started developing mindfulness and success. Well, it was the first time I learned success visualization techniques, so it was a great opportunity for that. But it wasn't the first time I'd started meditating or doing mindfulness and breathing techniques, because I had a life that it was adventurous and it was exciting, and so there was that part of it, moving around to different countries. But it was also, we need to acknowledge that, not sugarcoat things. And it was also stressful, saying goodbye to friends, starting a new school, packing, unpacking. And so here you see me on the left, little baby Eleni, Elenita in Zimbabwe, where I was born. Here you see me dressed in the beautiful Sudanese, with my sister Dema here next to me outside our house in Sudan, in Khartoum, in North Sudan. And then here you see me with my sister, my lovely grandfather, my grandmother, and my mother in Belgium, outside Manikenpis, a very famous touristy place where people go to visit in Belgium. So, and then in middle school, I'm with my teddy bear pajamas. I don't know if you can see it, cracking an egg, which is a very traditional thing to do in Greece when it's Easter. We dye eggs different colors, or traditionally we dye the eggs red, and we crack them. It's this tradition. And my little brother, we've now got a third edition in the family. So my little brother's looking cute and just lost, like, I don't know why you're making me crack an egg or what's happening. And then my brother here is older in Moscow in high school. Right? And here's my dad and my mom, my little sister who's now older, my sister Dema, and me and some friends out for dinner. So again, remember, all of these are the highlight reels, the times you're going out on a weekend having fun. But it was an opportunity because of this challenge of moving around so much, and the impact it had on my little nervous system. It was an opportunity to start developing my stress management toolbox before the IB. Now, if you haven't started before that, it doesn't matter. And you don't have to travel to experience stress. You might have had other stresses in your life. Maybe you have started doing some breathing exercises and mindfulness and success visualizations. Maybe you haven't, but I encourage you to look at the IB diploma as an opportunity to build your own stress management toolbox, because stress is a part of life. And so the sooner you empower yourself with trying different techniques and doing different things and seeing what works for you, when, at what time of day, the sooner you can start making quicker progress in your goals. So let's look at some of the failures because there were many, but let's highlight the big ones. So mock exam, grade 12. Remember, in order to get into the dream university, the one I had set my heart on with the amazing course that I really, really wanted to do, I had to get a 6 in higher level history. And in grade 11, IB1, I had a teacher, we'll call him teacher X to respect his identity, because this isn't about the teacher. This is, in every university, in every school, everywhere, there's always a teacher who doesn't give a damn about their students, to put it bluntly, right? They might be there because if they're a lecturer, they want to have a career doing research, and part of their contract is they have to also teach students on the side. Or they want to travel, and that's their primary motivation. And they don't really care if you get a good grade in your IB exam or not, and so on. And so obviously these are minority, and it's very unprofessional. And obviously this is not just in education, this is in all walks of life and professions. But anyway, teacher X is one of those types of teachers, right? Who didn't care. And so we'd start our IB history lessons in grade 11 by presenting poems. The weekly homework wasn't taking notes from the textbook, what you'd normally expect, from an IB history course, in preparation for the exams and to build your knowledge and to practice essays, to build your skills, all that normal stuff. It was reading poems, and we'd walk in, and he'd have this creepy smile, and it'd be dark, and there'd be a candle, and we'd say hello, but he wouldn't say hello back. It would just be this creepy smile, and it was really weird. Anyway, and so then, we'd sit in silence until finally he'd sit and invite the person whose homework day it was to share their poem. So, loads of time went by like that. To cut a long story short, basically it was a wasted year. We only did like 2 essays in the whole year. And add to that the fact that I decided I wanted to go to this university, and I had to get this grade quite last minute. So it was really important. I realized I had to get a 6 in high level history. It was really, really stressful preparing for the final exam, especially since I bombed my mock exam. And so what I learned from this experience is it's not just about filling your knowledge gaps, which luckily I had a wonderful teacher who was very caring. And she really helped me to fill the knowledge gaps in grade 12. And I'd also promised to the school that, I'm going to work on it as well, because I really wanted to improve my knowledge. And so, the next teacher was very, very helpful, but my skills weren't at a level where I was able to get the grade I needed to get, right? To write a 6 quality history essay in exam conditions. And so what I learned from this experience is you have to join the knowledge development with the skills development and focus on the success criteria. So go back to the mark schemes, go back to model answers and so on, and look at what is it I need to do to achieve a level of quality in my essay writing. And it's not just for history, it's safe for other subjects like English, where you have essays and so on. Except history essays are a different type of essay than English. There's different skills you have to develop. And so what is it I need to do for a history essay, an IB history essay, to get the grade I need to get, whether it's a 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is you need to get to achieve your goal, right? And so as a teacher, I made this my number 1 priority, that I'm going to be like teacher number 2, like grade 12 teacher, I'm going to show them the mark schemes. I'm going to get them to self-assess. I'm going to be giving them feedback on where they're at. Are they at a high 5, a low 5, a middle 5? And what can they do to improve? And so I made essay writing, learning from the pain of my experience, a priority. And this helped me to have, most of my students got 6s. Every year there'd be around 3 that got 7s. And very, 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 very rarely would someone, I think only 1 person in all the years got a 1 in higher level history that I taught in standard. A 4 and one a 3. So it really, really helped me to understand what's important to help kids achieve success and to be there and support them academically. So my tip number 2 for you as an IB student is, if you're not on track for whatever reason, you've got, there was the online and you missed lots of syllabus, or there was a teacher who didn't give a damn and so they didn't cover it, whatever reason, doesn't matter what the reason is. The thing is, what is your goal and what you need to do to get there? If you're not on track, study the success criteria look at the extended essay criteria. For example, if you're working on the extended essay, look at it again and again and again. Don't just focus on writing it. What is it I need to maximize my marks in each criteria, right? And then ask for model answers. If you don't have any, ask for them. So on the right, you see the last student I had for an extended essay, who, before I left my teaching career to do the work I'm doing here now, she got an A, and you can see here just by looking at the paragraph, the quality that she's straight on meeting the success criteria. The thesis is clear. It was on the causes of the 1979 Iranian Revolution. It's compact, it's to the point. She's doing all sorts of good stuff. So when you see a model answer that the IB has shared or your teacher has shared, study it and see what is good about it and how can I apply these techniques that they're using in their writing to my writing to bring my writing up a notch. So story number 2. I failed my IB higher level chemistry mock exam. And here, it wasn't a case of the teacher didn't care. They really did, and I was struggling to fill in the knowledge gaps and the skill gaps. It was 100%. I completely well, it's not that I miscalculated. I think I underestimated the challenge, right? I don't know if you can relate, where the night before, you're like anxious and you can't sleep and you pretty much like, it's just like when's this night gonna end? Because you haven't studied enough. So I'm like, well, I was doing well in higher level chemistry. So I'm like, I don't need to study much for my mocks in chemistry because that's not one of my weaker subjects. And so I can do it in 3 days. It's one of those forehead slap moments where it's like, really, this is the IB. You can't study anything crammed last minute and be successful. Like you have to be disciplined. You have to be organized. And so it was one of those situations where, I had to put my hand up and be like, you know what, I messed up. And it's helped me in my career today because one of the big parts of my work in reducing stress with students is helping them to improve their time management and overcome procrastination. In this case, it wasn't procrastination. It was, needing to take responsibility for improving my time management because I literally messed up. I literally underestimated the challenge. And it was as simple as that. And I had to own up and be like, okay, we're going to work on this. I'm going to improve. Next time, we're going to start studying weeks in advance, And so this is actually very empowering because you might think like, oh, responsibility, boring. Like, it's not fun, is it? Yeah, but when you take full responsibility, hear what the word has in it, responsibility, the ability to respond to your mistakes and to your failures, instead of blame game, for it's his fault, her fault, whatever, right? You take your power back. You don't just give your power away by blaming others. And you have the power to do something about it and to change and to achieve the goal you want to achieve and to succeed. So very, very important to take responsibility when we mess up and we make mistakes. Now, no matter how much you work on your stress management and self-soothing, I want to avoid the trap of coming across or making it sound as if success is because of our own success, right? And so self-soothing is all we need to do to manage success when we've got a lot of pressure and we're finding it hard. And so remember, I needed to get a 6 in higher level history, which I did in the end, and I also needed to get a 6 in higher level English to get into my first choice university. And the first exam of the IB was English, IB English. And so what happened was when I sat down to before I went into the exam, I was very, very, very stressed. It's the start of the exams, I know, and it was also English, and I was very stressed. So I went to the high school office and asked if I could borrow a basketball. And the ladies and the secretaries were like, why? Well, I'm like, I've got my first exam, just feeling a bit stressed, want to just blow off some steam, and with all the adrenaline running and so on in your body, and so I was like. And I think Mr. Parsons, who was the head of, he must have heard me, or he might have heard, someone might have told him, I don't know, but his door was literally right next to the secretary's office. So I have a feeling he might have heard me. But for some reason, I went to the part of the school where there's no one there, no one, not a soul. And so he had to go out of his way, out of his office to come and find me. And so there I am, sweating like a pig, overdoing it. Don't do this, not recommended. Really overdoing it. But I was really getting so hyper aroused from the stress that I was trying to help soothe myself and I couldn't, and so anyway, so he came in and I was doing my layups and really going for it. And he said, just coming to check to see that you're all right. And I was like, wow, he came out of the way to check to see I'm all right. Principals are busy people. Wow, that was kind of him. I was like, yeah, I'm fine, just letting off steam in. Anyway, go into the exam, fast forward, go into the exam. They get the exam out. Needless to say, I'm sweating, I'm not hyperventilating. I didn't do my breathing as would have been best to have done and so on, and my other stress management techniques, And I start, the words start blurring. The poem starts to blur, and I'm like, oh my goodness, And I'm touching my head, and I'm panicking. And Mr. Parsons comes by, and he says, "Follow me." And I'm like, so I just follow it. Someone, the head says, "Follow you." You follow. And as I start to, and all he did was in silence, just walk me around like a little section of the school. And out we went from the exam room, and we went in. And as we approached the door, I just felt like I have to ask, and I was coming to my senses. I was starting to notice what was going on because, I was starting to get grounded again. And I said, "Why did you do this? Why did you do this? Why did you do this to help me?" And he goes, it's amazing. And he goes, it touches me even now, because someone did this to me when I was at university. And I never had another panic attack in an exam again. And it's like, wow. I looked up to Mr. Parsons. He was literally one of the best upper school leaders I've ever had. He was, he was a gentle, powerful force and very compassionate and just very present and mindful. And so I was like, wow, like you went through, I'm not alone. So that was huge. And secondly, and we know this from psychology research, sometimes we need someone to help us co-regulate. Sometimes we can't do it on our own. Like we need someone to help us. We're social beings. We're social creatures. We weren't meant to survive on our own, right? From time immemorial, when you go back to history, we've been in tribes. And so here was the leader of our tribe, the school tribe, coming in and helping me correct. I mean, it was just so touching. And so I went into the exam and I read and I looked at the words and I could see them. And I'm like, okay, all the practice we've done, I had brilliant, teachers in English, IB English, and we've done practice on annotating the poems and what you can do, alliteration and so on, so that you could then prepare to write the essay. And I actually enjoyed the exam, believe it or not. Yeah, so, and I never had a big panic attack again after that in an exam. I had anxiety, but I didn't have a huge panic attack. So I'm sharing this story to emphasize this point here, which is tip number 4 for academic success. We need to stay humble in how much we can achieve, because there's a continuum of independent learning, right? And by independent learning, I don't just mean studying on your own versus having a tutor sitting next to you, right? I mean like independent learning in terms of achieving your success independently without any help at all, emotionally, psychologically, anything, right? So there's a limit because we're social creatures, and there are times when we need to ask for help, or we need help, and so people can, if you're ashamed to admit you have a problem, it stops you from making progress quicker because you suffer for longer. Whereas if you're like, I'm going to be honest here, I went to the secretaries and I was like, can I borrow a basketball? And when they asked, I didn't lie. I didn't say, I just want to shoot some hoops. I was like, yeah, I'm a bit stressed about the exam and, I just wanted to let some steam off. So they knew I was honest. I wasn't trying to act all cool about it. I wasn't cool about it, and I was honest. So be honest, be brave, and be open to receiving help when someone has the kindness and compassion to give it, as Mr. Parsons very, very kindly went out of his way, literally and metaphorically, to do. And so think of where you're at on this, I encourage you to think of where you're at on this continuum of independent learner. Because for me, I tend to have a tendency of problematically independent, where it's like, I can do it. I can do it on my own. Don't need help, So that was a huge lesson I learned. I'm like, actually, it's okay to be honest when you do, when you are feeling stressed, so that people can extend help and so on. And then on the other side, problematically dependent, where you're like, where it's like, I can't do this without having tutors for every subject. And you've got low self-esteem there because you don't believe in yourself. So it's all about finding, and it's a constant, it's a process. You're working at it to work on that self-esteem and that confidence, that academic confidence, self-esteem, so we can move towards that independent learner path. And let me stray to help us course correct. Now, plot twist. So you saw me at the start holding my master's in education, smiling. So you're like, well, she must have been happy. Good for her. So I am smiling, and I guess, look happy. I mean, I'm smiling, and I was told to smile. By the way, the photographer said at the graduation ceremony, smile, and then take a picture. So on the surface, I look happy, and it was beyond my wildest dreams. First of all, to get into Cambridge, like you saw, I'm just an ordinary kid struggling with writing and reading, managing the stress of just life and so on, like everyone else's, and so you'd think that everything was great, right? Like when you achieve success, then I'll be happy. Like I won't have any fun in my final year of grade 12, where I just sacrifice to get the grade I want to get. And when I get the certificate, or when I achieve this goal, or when I get this much money, or when I'm rich, whatever your when is, then I'll be happy. And so, when I heard that I got the distinction and I had this, this amazing, beyond my wildest dreams, academic achievement that I experienced, that what was happening behind the scenes, behind the surface, the reality, is I was actually suffering. I was working full time while I was doing my master's in education at the University of Cambridge. And with the increased academic success and the increased professional success, the first year of teaching is always hard. Teachers out there, you know what I'm talking about, is really hard. And by the second year, I was starting to, I was improving, and I was applying everything that I'd learned. And my IGCSE history students were doing really well. And I started to become the target of workplace bullying and harassment from a colleague who was not in a place where they were able to cope with this increasing success, where their students, even though they'd been a teacher for many years, were not doing as well in their history exams as my students were. They were getting the grade that they were predicted. My students, I was on average helping them to get one grade higher. And so as time went on, the harassment increased, and educated people aren't dumb. Like they're not gonna like give you a black eye or give some physical harassment. It's gonna be emotional and psychological, and when no one's watching, like when the class is gone, and it's persistent. And it's, by the way, it's not just in education. This is in any job. You've got people who can become quite aggressive covertly and start to harass you as a way of when you start to achieve success. And so this is where I started to reevaluate this concept of success, because I'm like, on the outside, I look like I'm succeeding, but I feel like shit inside. Like this is, I feel so miserable. And it was, I loved the teaching and I loved that part of it, but it was really painful when I'd never experienced bullying as a student or anything like that in my mid-20s to be experiencing this workplace harassment. And so the gift from this stress, because the IB was not the most stress I've ever experienced, the post-traumatic stress disorder I developed from the harassment, the mental illness that I suffered from, because I became ill from the harassment, and this where violence was the norm, toxic work environment on a daily basis. There was so much violence, and so And so the combination of the harassment and these working conditions, these unacceptable working conditions, meant I fell ill. And so I experienced post-traumatic stress disorder, which is literally the most stress you can experience on a traumatic stress spectrum. People usually think it happens to soldiers. It happens to teachers, it happens to people in whatever profession. And actually, if you're interested, fun fact, it's not fun, but you know what I mean? Like, women tend to experience PTSD more than men, even though the media tends to focus on war veterans coming back from war. So why am I opening up about this tribulation, this trauma that I experienced? Because in the middle, you see me literally doing, the emotional freedom technique, and this is what I do now. And so it was thanks to the IB where, I was encouraged to become an open-minded person who is not like, oh, I'm not going to try something new. Like, that's just weird, tapping. What is this thing? Right? So I was very open-minded. So when the therapist said, look, Eleni, I can help you. Do you want to try this trauma therapy called EMDR, eye movement desensitization, which is superb for PTSD and serious, big T trauma, big traumas, for treating those. And also emotional freedom technique for self-soothing, right? When you're on your own to help reduce your stress outside of the therapy sessions. So here you see me tapping because I'm literally working on tapping away the stress. And it was thanks to this stressful experience, which, like I said, was more stressful than anything I've ever experienced in the IB. That now I'm in a position to, understand that, there's more to success than just achieving a certain goal, because it's also about how you feel inside. What's your mental health? Are you well? Are you happy? Are you supported? Do you feel supported in the environment you're in? And so this was the beginning of my body intelligence chapter, where I was working on the academic intelligence side, but I realized I had to work on the body intelligence side. So I started to tap into my body, and I started to realize, like, thriving is so much more challenging, but so much more important and rewarding than just succeeding. So when I go into my exam classes, here you see me on the right as an IB teacher, where I left this school, I negotiated a deal, a fair compensation deal, and then I left for the work-related stress and being the result of this workplace harassment. And I went on to move to and worked in a prestigious school, an amazing school with kids who would say thank you at the end of the class and be super grateful, for the support that you were giving them. And you see me here teaching a class, holding a Mandarin, and it was right before their exams. They're stressed, and because I've experienced stress and I've, on the max level, and I've got all these different tools and techniques, I'm teaching them a mindfulness, Mandarins, and mock exams class, where after they come out from their mock exams, they're preparing for the final exams, I'm teaching them that it's important to balance your academic efforts when you're studying with taking time out to do mindfulness exercises. And here I'm showing them one example, which is through mindful eating. Okay, so what I would like to share with you here is someone who really inspires me on the topic of thriving rather than just succeeding, right? Aiming for that higher, more ambitious goal of thriving, and striving for it, because it's not like you're there and that's it, I'm done, I'm made for life. But it's striving to achieve that. Because life happens. We're all going through a pandemic right now. Like, everyone is going through this historically stressful, challenging thing where online technical issues happen and online problems happen, and we have, and you have to keep carrying on and respond and do your best and make the most of it. Make the most of this, the opportunities that are there. So I look up to Arianna Huffington here, who's an amazing, inspiring female entrepreneur who also happens to be, Greek. And so she grew up here in Athens, where I am broadcasting to you live from. And so she wrote this book, Thrive, that really helped me understand my purpose as I reflected on these successes and these, and these failures and these trials and tribulations, which is more and more scientific studies and more health statistics. And I was one of them. Remember, I suffered from PTSD for 3 months before I got the treatment. And thank goodness, these amazing techniques exist, by the way, where you can do it. And I didn't need to take psychiatric pills. I didn't need to take pills from a psychiatrist. I had these amazing natural techniques that help you, like EMDR and EFT, to overcome certain types of trauma. And so I was a health statistic, in the stress-related impact side of things, but also in the exciting breakthroughs that are coming out here in psychology with energy psychology techniques like tapping and EMDR that are helping us to recover from suffering and stress quicker than ever before historically. So more and more health statistics are showing, like myself, that are showing that the way we've been leading our lives and what we prioritize and what we value is not working. Because I had prioritized success rather than thriving, and it wasn't working, right? And so, growing numbers of women and men are refusing to join the list of casualties. Instead, they are reevaluating their lives and looking to thrive rather than merely succeed based on how the world defines success. And so when you think of this concept of success and failure, you think of, I want to succeed in achieving a certain grade, a certain goal. And we all get socially conditioned into see the world in terms of success and failure. I failed this and I succeeded there, and I failed this and I succeeded there. But I love this quote. I heard it in a podcast interview that this really inspiring head of school gave, called on the Inspiring Leadership Podcast. It's literally called the Inspiring Leadership Podcast, and it was so inspiring. So Jason McBride, a Canadian school principal who is running a school in Thailand at the moment, he said in his interview, "You want to make sure that you're spending enough time on your own physical well-being, on your own mental well-being, and on your relationships, as well as in your own sense of purpose and your own sense of progress." Okay? And so I realized was like, okay, so this is the lens that we need to look through. We need to raise the bar here in our lives, each one of us, and say, you know what? We want to aim higher and aim to thrive, not just succeed and fail. So we can enjoy the success and the process, not just the end goal. And so let's take a step back here to see, well, what is my sense of purpose and how does it link to the IB and so on? So it's thanks to the IB that I started to get a inkling, like the seed of my sense of purpose for my career and my professional life was planted. So during the IB diploma, I did community action and I did a lot of service projects, which, for example, one is I initiated there were skinheads who, in this horrific traumatic incident near my house where we were living in Moscow, set fire to the university student dorms of students in this university called Lumumba that was literally next to my house, which had a lot of students from African countries. So and skinheads were neo-Nazi, very racist, extremist, right? And it was clearly a racist attack, and it was horrific. I mean, I'm studying, preparing for my exams, thinking, and I'm going to go off to university, and I could only imagine how horrifying it was for these students to be in a foreign country, burned, waking up to burning and burnt, because a lot of them were burnt, in hospital recovering. So one of the service projects that I proposed to Mr. Pearson, and I gave a plan of what I wanted to do and so on, was for us to gather, because they'd lost, things were burnt, do a clothes haul, so get clothes together, and for students of all ages from grade 1 to grade 12 to write some cards so that they could still feel, even though they had this horrible xenophobic racist attack from some members of the community in Moscow, that they also felt that there's other members of the community who were thinking of them and cared for them and and we're sending their best wishes for a speedy recovery. And so we gathered loads and loads, hundreds of cards and loads of clothes to help them with their recovery process. And it was the first time I really started to stop focusing so much on myself in the IB when we had to do, it was compulsory to do service actions and activities. Because before that, I loved my sports, I did basketball, I did this, but it was all kind of me. So this opened my mind to realize there's suffering going on here in the world, and I want to help make the world a better place. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I want to help make the world a better place. This is my intention. This is what what I want in my life. Some people might say, I just want to make money and get rich and whatever. For me, it was like, I want to help make the world a better place through the work that I do, because it helped shift me out of that self-centered, it's all about me and my success, and how can I help others and help the world make a better place. That was as far as it went, very vague, right? But through all of my trials and tribulations and sufferings and joys and achievements and so on, what came out of it now in my mid-30s is actually I've got this sense of clarity, and it wasn't like all of a sudden like, this is what I want to do, this is my sense of purpose, and this is what drives all of my decisions, what I say yes to, what I say no to, what projects I do, what books I write, and so on. But it was a gradual process of tapping into my body's intelligence and saying, what is it you want to do? What is your purpose? Why are you here? And so at the moment where I'm at with it on my journey of my sense of purpose is I want to help bridge the gap between mainstream education, right? The curriculum the IB sets us that we have to do to prepare for exams, for example, and the well-being skills we need to thrive. Because like I've said, and I know I keep repeating this, it's not enough to just, try hard to achieve academic success. You can see from middle school, I was doing self-soothing, breathing techniques, meditations, and so on. And the IB built on that, where I added the success visualizations, where the opportunity with the stress of trying to overcome my procrastination, came up. So I learned that technique. And then when I was an adult and I experienced workplace bullying and the suffering from that, and so that opened my mind to be like, okay, let's inquire and write IB Learner Profile, Inquirer. Let's inquire and see what's going on, what's the latest, what can I do to reduce this stress and release it from my body. And so through this process, I realized that actually there is a gap in the curriculum that we can fill with through curriculum development, and so we're not just waiting, depending on other organizations like national curriculum and national education reforms to change, and with the support of schools. Like here we are with Prepa UPAEP, who are innovative. They are doing something here that has never been done before. Here, where we're together in this conference, breaking horizons, in order to offer you this opportunity here for free to look at behind the scenes what it is that we need to be balanced. And so remembering the definition of balance, we understand the importance of balancing different aspects of our life, intellectual, physical, and emotional, to achieve well-being for ourselves and others. So the IB Learner Profile has within it the attribute of striving to be balanced, which in a nutshell, basically is to thrive. This is what it means to thrive, yeah? And so what I've done and what I'm working on, it's a journey, but what I'm working on right now, which I'm literally launching here and with you guys, and I'm offering it for free to whoever's interested, is this tapping into academic success. It's literally like a selection of small videos. They're only 2 to 10 minutes long, and if you've got an hour to spare and you want to just jump in and hop in, they will have a link, I believe, somewhere they'll share either a link on the panel, and the main panel of the conference, so you can sign up to get to access this free resource that I've created, where you're going to learn how to do the emotional freedom technique, which helps for all levels of stress. I mean, if it can help with traumatic stress, it can help even with stress related, the general stress to do with academics. And it does, because I see it all the time when I'm working one-to-one with students who I'm mentoring. And so it helps you to reduce stress, anxiety, panic, overwhelm, and procrastination. You can use this technique to improve your concentration, to get motivated when you're feeling demotivated, and also to get more academic confidence when you're doubting yourself. And mindfully study, so that you can study smarter, not just harder. Okay, so when you go in, you'll see that there's different aspects. I show you, and literally each video is around 10 minutes long here, and in only 10 minutes, because I know how busy you are and how limited time is as an IB student, you can learn how to use this technique to reduce cognitive stress, like when you're having negative thoughts, like I'm going to fail, I can't do this, right? Emotional stress, panic, anxiety, overwhelm, and physical stress. So where you're getting headaches and so on from the stress, you can tap on the emotional component of that so that that can be cleared. Here's what some students have said. You know, tapping actually helped me relax and feel less anxious. They enjoyed actually trying it out for themselves. And another grade 11 student, it actually helps with stress. So now I would like to encourage you to act on what it is that you would say is the number one thing that you're going to do right now. And you can write it down on a piece of paper. You don't have to write it on, you don't have to go on Instagram. I've literally made a post here that says what's one thing you can do right now for your well-being, so that you can start acting on this, right? And taking action in the direction of moving beyond just aiming to succeed and aiming to thrive. And so you can leave a comment on my Instagram and let me know what your intention is that you want to do, what your key takeaway was from today. On Facebook or on LinkedIn. Teachers, if you're watching, I encourage you to join in, because we're all human and we all need to look after our health and well-being and self-care so we can thrive, and together we rise. And so this is my presentation. I've also got 3 questions to answer. I don't know if you want to read them out, or shall I go ahead and answer those?
Go ahead, Eleni.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, if you'd like to read them, you can go ahead.
Okay, cool. So while you go ahead and go on to, if you want to do it now or you want to do it later, make a note of what it is your key takeaway is. Let me answer these 3 questions, which are so good. So I'm glad we have time now to do it. So, favorite thing about the IB. My favorite thing about the IB is the IB mission statement. And I say that because, and I'll read it out to you because you might not have read the mission statement, because I think that the IB diploma, the actual curriculum has strayed a bit, I think, in with regards to helping to achieve this mission statement. And I think it's important. I'd like to use this opportunity to raise awareness about this issue. So the mission statement is to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring people who help to create a better and more peaceful world. And my question to you is, how can the world become better and more peaceful if the IB diploma, the actual IB diploma curriculum development changes in recent years have been so focused on one part of this mission statement, which is knowledgeable. And this is seen in the fact that when I was an IB diploma student, we didn't have to write hundreds of words extra for, when you think of the reflection tasks you had to do on top of the 4,000 words for your extended essay, we didn't have to do that. Every internal assessment, every TOK presentation and so on, we didn't have to fill in forms saying what we learned. And I'm still a self-reflective person. I became self-reflective. And I'm concerned that I feel like there's been a bit of a step back in terms of some of the curriculum changes that have added more workload. Like, this is fact. This is not just in your head and you think it's a lot of workload. It's actual factual increase the workload of IB diploma students in recent years. Because how can you be caring about others when you're stuck in your fight or flight response because you're so stressed and overwhelmed about the workload? And also now, like for example, now we've got the pandemic, right? You don't know. A lot of students who I'm mentoring are worried because they're like, will there be exams? Won't they? Should I be focusing on my IAs or should I be studying for the exams in case there will be? And so I think that there is an opportunity here. We are being invited, we're being called to step up and rethink how we can get back on track with the curriculum so that it can create the opportunity for students to experience more balance and more well-being. And so you don't have to go out of your way like you are doing today to come to this presentation here and to learn tips and techniques, you know, and the tapping into academic success offering I'm offering here for you to try for free for 10 days if you'd like to try it, for you to learn it, but this would actually be built into the curriculum. So I think, you know, this is why the IB mission statement is the thing that's my favorite part of the IB diploma, because I feel like when we reflect on how we can get back on track and make caring after our students a priority, not just from teachers, because, you know, teachers are working so hard and caring so much about students, and IB diploma coordinators here, you know, holding the space for us to have this, and heads of school, like we are seeing here today, holding the space and organizing all of this for you. And so I think there is a great opportunity for the IB organization to also start to open up to the change that needs to happen so that students can be happier and more peaceful and therefore be more caring about others, because you're not stuck in your stress response, you're worrying about your own surviving of the IB. Question number 2. Do you think we learn more from failures or successes? Whew, another good question. Okay, so first of all, I think we learn from both, but here's the catch. If we have a growth mindset. So we all experience failures in life, whether we admit it or not, whether we're open about it or not. It's part of life. We all experience successes, big or small. The thing is, what are you going to do, you know, to actually learn from the successes? So for example, when I had that success, you know, when I was holding that degree, the master's in education, I was succeeding academically, but emotionally and in terms of my body intelligence, I was very underdeveloped. So, you know, it wasn't wise of me to stay in this unhealthy work environment for as long as I stayed. The wise thing to do would have been to tap into my intuition and my gut and to leave sooner before it affected my health the way it did. And so you could say I failed in terms of my body intelligence, but I was succeeding academically. So, but if we don't have a growth mindset where you're willing to reflect, IB Learner Profile, reflecting, these are very important for our life, these attributes, for helping us navigate challenges and successes. And so, you know, if it wasn't for the fact that I developed, thanks to the schools I was at where they really emphasize growth mindset, a growth mindset. And if you haven't heard of the growth mindset compared to the fixed mindset, I encourage you to Google, to type in growth mindset, Dr. Carol Dweck, to learn more about that, the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. I feel like failures are a missed opportunity for learning. So it's very important to develop your mindset to be more of a growth mindset than a fixed mindset. And then you can learn from both. Otherwise, they're failed opportunities, you could say. Missed opportunities, sorry. Number 3, another great question. Sometimes even family and friends are the ones giving you discouragement to be successful. How do you recommend to act in this situation? So I can, you know, first of all, I understand that at the moment, it probably is someone to do with maybe discouraging you academically, but realize that this is something that's going to happen throughout life. There will always be people who might not believe in you or who might discourage you. And remember, the number 1 tip I'd say for this is realize that that's their stuff. You're not responsible for persuading them, for changing them, for whatever. But you are responsible for looking after your own beliefs, your own limiting beliefs, your own blocking beliefs. And so focus on what you can control instead of what you can't control. You can't control what other people think of you. You can't control if other people believe in your ability to succeed in the goal that you've set, but you can control whether you ask yourself, what needs to happen for me to achieve this goal? So who are the people who are supportive? How can I create a support network? Where can I go where there's positive, uplifting online communities on Instagram, on Facebook that can help me to achieve this goal? Because if you open yourself up to finding solutions and ask those questions, you will find solutions to help you achieve your goal. So yeah, and that's it. I hope you found these questions. I hope those answered your questions. Those of you who gave those questions in.
Strong message. My main takeouts are: you don't have to be extraordinary to thrive in the IB. It's okay not being okay. You're not alone. You can find someone like your principal or a teacher or someone that will help you. And moving forward from this success failure mentality and going to this thriving mentality, and the importance of balance is one of the attributes of the learner profile, and it's something that sometimes we just take for granted, but it's really important for students that stress exists. It won't go away. However, there's tools for you to manage it. And as Eleni said, you can go to gg.gg/Eleni Vardaki and you'll have her website and more information and this the opportunity of building this toolkit for stress management, as she said, through the diploma. Eleni, thank you very much for your message. And as you said, and as the IB mission statement says, and Paulo Freire used to say, education won't change the world, but it will change the people who eventually will change the world. And so, Danielle, what do we have in the program for tomorrow?
Oh, so good. I am so inspired. Thank you so much, Eleni. That was amazing. I want to apply some of these things to my own life as well. Tomorrow, we have got a big schedule. Get ready, guys. We have, starting at 8 a.m., our next special guest, which is Stephanie Stan, who is a 2017 International Baccalaureate Diploma recipient. We also have Dr. Shauna Pandya, who is a scientist and an astronaut candidate, coming to talk to us, and our very own homegrown from UPAEP, Rosa Gonzalez, who is an aerospace engineer who recently graduated from UPAEP University. She participated in the structure and mechanics subsystem of the Aztec Sat-1 nanosatellite, which, for those of you who don't know, is the first 100% Mexican-built satellite, okay? This was an amazing project that we are going to hear a bit about tomorrow, but this satellite was sent into space a little while ago now, and we're going to hear from Rosa and how the diploma program prepared her for her future. So get ready, guys. It's going to be an amazing day. We look forward to seeing you then. But apart from that, wherever you are in the world, have a great afternoon, a great morning, or a great night. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much.
See you
tomorrow.
Bye.